I will never, ever fall again, Mirette shouted. Do not boast, Bellini said, so sharply that Mirette lost her balance and had to jump down. To boast means to brag or say that you're so good at something. And really that comes from a place where you're proud of yourself, but you don't ever want to be so proud that you hurt someone else's feelings. And bragging can seem like you're showing off, and that can make people uncomfortable. But it also puts you in a place where you think you're so good that you have no room to grow. And there's always room to grow. There's always room to learn and to be better and to find ways of improving whatever it is that you're doing. So Bellini doesn't want her to brag because he wants her to see that she's still a learner. One night, an agent from Astley's Hippodrome in London rented a room. He noticed Bellini on his way to dinner. What a shock to see him here, he exclaimed. See who? Asked a mime. A mime? I didn't think they talked. Why, the great Bellini. Didn't you know he was in the room at the back? Bellini, the one who crossed Niagara Falls on a 1,000-foot wire in 10 minutes? Asked the mime. Remember, I told you some people are known for using high wires and tight ropes to get across large areas. And they're saying that he crossed over Niagara Falls, which is an enormous waterfall. And there you can see it in this picture. And on the way back, stopped in the middle to cook an omelet on a stove full of live coals? Oh, that seems impossible. Then he opened a bottle of champagne and toasted the crowd, the agent recalled. My uncle used to talk about that, said a juggler. Bellini crossed the Alps with baskets tied to his feet. He fired a cannon over the bull ring in Barcelona, walked a flaming wire, wearing a blindfold in Naples. The man had the nerve of an iceberg, the agent said. The nerve of an iceberg. Icebergs are frozen, so you don't feel anything. So I guess he has no fear. Mirette raced to Bellini's room. Is it true? She cried. Did you do all those things? Why didn't you tell me? I want to do them too. I want to go with you. I can't take you, said Bellini. But why not? Said Mirette. Bellini hesitated. A long time. Because I'm afraid, he said at last. Mirette was astonished. Afraid? She said. But why? Once you have fear on the wire, it never leaves, Bellini said. But you must make it leave, Mirette insisted. I cannot, said Bellini. So he just told Mirette something very important. That something happened that when he was on the wire, he started to be afraid of what could happen. And then it's making it hard for him to do it again. Mirette turned and ran to the kitchen as tears sprang to her eyes. She had felt such joy on the wire. Now Bellini's fear was like a cloud casting its black shadow on all she had learned from him. Now she's doubting herself and her teacher. Bellini paced his room for hours. It was terrible to disappoint Mirette. By dawn, he knew that if he didn't face his fear at last, he could not face Mirette. He knew what he must do. The question was, could he succeed? What does he need to do to get over his fear? What does he need to face? You guessing? That night, when the agent returned, Bellini was waiting for him. The agent listened to Bellini's plan with mounting excitement. I'll take care of it, he promised. To himself, he added, a big crowd will make for a tidy profit. What luck. I just happen to be in Paris now. So this agent is a person who's going to put on a show. And Bellini will be the act in the show. Bellini went out to find a length of hemp with a steel core. He borrowed a winch and worked until daylight, securing the wire. He wants to make sure that the wire is safe. And if you can see in this picture, he's standing up on some rooftops, and it looks like he's high up in the city. The next evening, Mirette heard the commotion in the street. "Go and see what it is," her mother said. "Maybe it will cheer you up." In the square was a hubbub. The crowd was so thick she couldn't see. At first, that the agent was aiming a spotlight at the sky. "Return of the great Bellini," he was yelling. Could it be? Mirette's heart hammered in her chest. Bellini stepped out onto the wire and saluted the crowd. Can you see how worried she looks? See her face? She's watching him, and she knows how important this is to him. He took a step and then froze. The crowd cheered wildly, but something was wrong. Mirette knew at once what it was. For a moment, she was as frozen as Bellini was. Then she threw herself on at the door behind her, ran inside, up flight after flight of stairs, out through a skylight on the roof. Could you see the wire? And there's Bellini, and Mirette has run to meet him on the other side. What could she do to help him through this fear? She stretched her hands to Bellini. He smiled and began to walk toward her. She stepped onto the wire, and with the most intensive pleasure, as she had always imagined it might be, she started to cross the sky. "Brava! Bravo!" roared the crowd. "Protégé of the great Bellini," shouted the agent. He was beside himself, already planning the world tour of Bellini and Mirette. As for the master and his pupil, they were thinking only of the wire and crossing to the end. With all that crowd down there, they're only focusing on their job of getting across safely. That's where the story ends. And on this page, you can see a poster that shows Mirette and Bellini. And it's an ad for their act in the circus, which means that after that performance, they continued to walk the tightrope together. And that's Mirette on the high wire. And while you have this time at home, I want you to think about something that drives you, something that gets you so excited, the way Mirette felt on the high wire, whether that's learning an instrument or becoming an expert in karate or yoga or riding your bike or trying out a scooter or anything you can think of. Maybe you want to learn to paint. Maybe you want to make your own comic book. There are so many things. And right now, it feels like we are stuck at home, but it's also a gift. So over this week, I want you to think about how you can use this time. Enjoy.